Good afternoon and welcome along to this special podcast for the Irish Masters Beachball, Ray's final Beachball. This is in homage to the DJ himself, DJ X-Ray, who has been DJing for about 37 years now, 88 to 19 or 2025. Sorry, we've just had one of them days, like, haven't we? It's just been one of them. But this podcast is in homage to him. Ray's going to tell us his story about how he started back then 37 years ago, his clubs, how he got started, his influences, where he thinks the club scene is now at the minute, and just all the things that go together with all that. Today's podcast is sponsored by local. I know half a day calls it a mash and half a day calls it a Mac, but the proper term is a Mac. A Mac are a clothing brand here in Derry, the Irish clothing brand. They specialise in all different types of fashion, club wear, fitness wear. They have a shop in Foylside. Liam himself designs all the stuff. We had a wee walk around the shop today. Ray, what did you think of it?
Yeah, it's lovely. Some great merchandise there. I love the fact that most of the merchandise is inspired by true events.
Yeah, like this T-shirt. This is his new T-shirt here, and Liam was telling us a story that him and his mate Wappa used to, when they were 14, they used to go out around fields and do a bit of horticulture, and then they used to go home and listen to X-Ray and Psy CDs. And this is where the inspired event came for this T-shirt. But as you can see, like, he has his own just normal brand ones. He also deals with clubwear. Last year he brought out a whole pile of Ibiza T-shirts. I think I have every one of them. To be honest, I went on holidays recently and all I took was shorts, a MASH T-shirts and a pair of sliders.
A
Mac, sorry. We were going to have this debate all day, like, so we are. But anyway, thanks to Liam and the guys at a Mac. You can get their website is amacofficial.com. It's just about to go up and running. You can also catch all a Mac and Liam's fashion on his socials, which is on Facebook, Instagram. And he's a great fella. He's very talented at what he does, and he's a smart boy too. You know what I mean? Like some of the stuff that's inspired by is really, really good. True events. He has like the Dead Rabbit from New York and all that there, and a whole pile of stuff like. And he does stuff for like the likes of Kneecap has wore some of his stuff. Be Perfect would wear a lot of his stuff. And he also done the King of Clubs T-shirt for the Point On. There's only 8 of them. Did you ever get one of them, Ray? No,
I didn't know.
No. Well, there's a few people has them, but he's really, really good and talented at what he does. And just like to thank him for sponsoring this podcast today.
Thank you very much, Liam.
Good man, Liam. So, Ray, 37 years, lad.
37 years, aye. It seems as if it's been a long, long time. You can pick that up there, Charlie.
That's all right. You can get down.
37 years, yeah. For me, it was basically, we were going to school one day. I think we were just in about 4th or 5th year. And obviously we all like getting up at the back of the bus, and there was 2 friends of mine at the time, Julie and Angie. They had recently started in the local nightclub called Lacey's, and they were just down working in the kitchen, doing kitchen porters. And then they went upstairs at night to the disco to work with glass collectors or work behind the bar.
That was in Korean?
That was in Korean, aye. And basically I was working there for a couple of months, and the boss came up one night and started to switch on all the lighting equipment and the sound and all the rest of it. And I sort of sneaked up into the DJ box and started to press the touchpad on the lights. And he came out of the office telling me, "Get the fuck out of there, get back down here, we're at the cloakroom." And I sort of scarpered down on in with my tail between my legs. And about 3 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, he came up and says, "Right, that's your job up there now, that boy's not coming back." And that was my start of all.
Introduction there.
That was probably late 87 when that happened. And for the next couple of months, I was actually just doing the lights before the DJ Barry Eller was coming on. And he used to see, he was a Scottish dude,
He used to play for one of the radio stations, didn't he?
WABC,
I
think.
remember.
And Q Radio as well.
Did he do anything for Atlantic 252 or something?
I'm not sure, but I know that WABC was in Redcastle or something.
Right, okay.
So I mind going down there with him one day. We had to get the ferry across from McGilligan.
Aye.
And basically it was Paul and Linda, they called the people that owned it. And from what you hear on the on the radio,
yes,
you think this is a big posh studio and all the rest of it. You go down, it's a wee shack. Honestly, it's a wee shack with all these, just surrounded with 7-inch singles.
Aye.
But that was Barry, that was 87. So I'd sort of done that for a couple of weeks. So it came to February. A couple of months. And it came to February, and the boss came up and said to me, "We can't get the DJ for the night." This was Valentine's Day. Barry can't do it, he's sick. And there was another guy who also couldn't do it called Harold Breenan.
Right.
He was from Derry here, Happy
Right.
Harry.
Right.
There was a couple of DJs played down there, Frankie McLaughlin as well.
Frankie McLaughlin would have owned the record shop and Spencer Road.
He owned Q102.
That's right, he was original for Q.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So, remember the Lovers Around 11 used to do? With Frankie McLaughlin, Lovers Around 11.
People used to tip him, you know. I remember being at college around that time, and fucking a girlfriend would have tipped the songs and all and sent them down to, you know, or not, no, like, are you listening to this? This is when you wrote letters to girls instead of fucking texts, you know what I mean? But
You're
anyway, sorry, Ray.
No, all good. And basically he said that, listen, it's your, you know, this was on the Saturday, I think. He goes, you'll have to play tomorrow night on your own. And I'd never done that. And I go, all I was doing was like putting on some music before he actually come on. And he used to say to me, keep the lights turned off and keep the music down until I come on, you know, so he can make his grand entrance or whatever.
I know what you mean. Come here, what sort of music influenced you back then?
Everything really. My dad, he played in a local dance band.
Yes.
Before that, he was involved in music since he was in his early 20s.
When you say local dance band, would that be like the likes of like the Miami Show Band,
yeah,
Dickie
totally,
Rock, that type of stuff?
Totally. Possibly before the show band type thing, they called them the big bands.
Right, okay.
Here they played in the northern counties,
right.
Places like that, in Portrush, where, you know, he was riding a push bike from the Lochan just outside Coleraine,
right,
with his saxophone and clarinet in the bar of the bike. You know, so he was cycling maybe 9-10 mile, you know, just to get there, and that was like 5 nights a week basically back then, to cater for the holidaymakers. But my dad's my biggest influence when I seen him up on the stage performing, and you just knew that was in you. You know, at some form or fashion.
That you were
just waiting to get
music.
out. And obviously, I think you're always a firm believer that your life's laid out in front of you, you know, and I think that those term events sort of made me who I am today.
Yeah.
Even though I'm giving it up, but
we'll
get to that.
Now,
but that was my first night then, and basically, I didn't do no talking in the mic or nothing. I was pure scared of it.
But what sort of songs or what sort of tunes?
Everything. There was that was at that stage of the game where it was all basically chart stuff. You know, I remember on halfway through that night, a guy come up and said to me, "Had any Rod Stewart?" And I sort of had a quick flick through the guy's 2 7-inch long boxes, you know.
Aye.
And I turned around and says, "Well, I don't think so, mate." And he goes, "Well, you're fucking dead outside."
You were going to get lynched when you come out.
Taking you right back to school, you know.
I know.
Yeah, you're dead outside, or you're dead after school. But I've even got some Rod Stewart with me the Davy Wax, hasn't he?
Have you? I had a Rod Stewart type. So do. I've never seen him live, but I do love him. Like, it's.
So from that, it just kind of stemmed on from doing maybe a year and a half in Lacey's, because I started to get more regular gigs off them.
Yeah. So where did you go to then after Lacey's?
I went straight from that into the Jet Centre.
That's where I first met you.
Yeah. I went there in about 1991, and I played there for about 3 years.
For any of the listeners or the viewers that don't know about the Jet Centre in the early 90s, there used to be an ice rink in it.
That's right, aye.
It was a bit like Dundonald. I think it would be a wee bit bigger than Dundonald's ice rink.
No, it wouldn't have been, no. It was maybe... It was a wee bit smaller, aye.
Right.
The Jet Centre, again, it was made up of a multi-complex of cinemas, bowling alleys,
Yeah.
sort of like children's play areas, food snacks, Quasar Laser, and of course the Edge, right?
And then the friend of both me and yours, Ian Young, he was the
He
the
was the
manager in the Jet Centre.
Aidan interviewed me at that time. Him and Alex Carmichael and another guy called Derek Brown. He was the main manager, and Aidan, they were the underbosses.
Aye,
If you're
they
talking
were.
mafia ways.
But you know, they sort of, it was Aidan sort of influencing ideas that sort of made the Jet Centre, that ice rink, really popular
yeah,
and all,
fact,
because he had yourself playing, Scooby was playing, my
Yeah.
brother Jared
Aye, as
played.
well.
Who else played in?
Wee Peter McDonald was there.
Aye,
for a
Peter
while
McDonald,
too.
that's
Rest
right.
in peace. Peter died there last year. By the time I got there, I think maybe a lot of them had came through. You know, so I was there like from, I think I started there about 91 ish, and then I left in September 93,
Right.
because that's when I first get my first gig in Kelly's with Harmony.
Aye. It's funny, that's your first gig, and then
Yeah.
this week, tomorrow,
Yeah, it's the Harmony.
is the
in
Harmony. This will
Belfast,
probably
aye.
have been out by the time Harmony's happened. Like,
Well.
but that's going to be a good night too.
That was, you know, you had to, like, because I was doing just the ice rink all the time. Aidan was sending me out in wee gigs here, there, and everywhere.
I remember you playing in
Lockheed GA
Club.
place, yeah, and that was 1990, because the big put 'em under pressure thing with Jackie Charlton.
That's right,
Put 'em
aye.
under pressure.
Aye.
Ole, ole,
Ole,
you know.
ole.
That was.
I think I
right,
was playing that place about 3 times a normal night, like,
I
in
know.
the clubhouse.
I know. Again, I went from that then just to be thrown into the deep end. Now, just before Kelly's actually happened for me, Aidan opened up the record shop, Fresh Underground,
Yeah.
and that kind of opened my eyes to a lot of music. I was going to Liverpool, places like that, 3 beaten by the records in bulk and bringing them back, and basically serving the community and decent dance music, and the stuff that I was hearing from Steve Vertigo tapes and Robbie Nelson's tapes.
But that was at the start, and when it was turned on to a movement.
Oh yeah,
Here in Northern Ireland.
It did.
And like you were at the front of that movement too, Chris. Like we were both influenced from the likes of
big
Chris
time.
Hurley,
Big time.
who's no longer with us. But what a DJ, like, and
Chris, I always said at Kelly's at his best, you know, at his rawness, because it was raw. You know, Chris was in there playing all sorts on the dance music scale, where, you know, he could be playing a Belgian techno song one time and then straight into piano house.
yeah,
He had it at his best, you know, his most atmospheric. The crowd was, you know,
it was all new.
it was all new.
And he, like, fair play to Chris. Like, he was the boy that really brought it to the Northwest.
Totally.
Can't say so much for Belfast, because there was other people that done all that
totally,
there.
totally.
But Chris was one of the main influences.
It brought the term rave
Yeah.
to the North Coast, because that's basically what it was tarred with. Oh, that's a rave.
Yeah.
And I know Brian from Tracks had been doing, you know, loads of stuff as well from for the dance. Well, they call it the club scene.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, going with my sisters, and around 87 again, I was very, very young. And Brian was playing all the big dance music hits, you know. He was getting all that stuff on white label. I always mention Brian because he's somebody who doesn't get enough recognition.
No, true, that's true. Because
He was just out of a couple of years before the actual rave had maybe kicked in.
and because I remember as a student going to Tracks, and like we were hearing wee bits of dance music and stuff, you know, Oceanic and things like that there, and they've been playing more Euro sort of house sort of stuff. But
Ritmo della Noche, remember that?
Ritmo della Noche, big whoop, no, that's right. There's some, but no, great memories too. But Brian Muir was a big influence in your career too.
Totally. Brian probably booked me in around 92 as well, to come and do like a 45-minute set one night, and it was whilst I was DJing in the Jet Centre. So all the ones from the Jet Centre was there too, and obviously rooting you on. But yeah, Brian was good to me over the years.
He opened a lot of doors for you.
Totally. He brought, after Kelly's had kicked us out, Brian opened his doors again to us, even though, like, you know, from about 96 right the way through to it closed. Brian was still serving me work as an intern in that term. But I'll always treasure what Brian done for me. You know, as much as the Mall, Paul and Hector, Alan Simpson. There's loads of people over the years who believed in what was doing. Stephen Ross in Atlantic, and Big Stephen, who was one of them guys who he wasn't a gatekeeper. If he thought somebody deserved a chance, he would give them it, you know, regardless of his style of music, or if he thought that you could put people through the door and still have a successful night. He was always willing to do that, and he still does it. I was actually speaking to him the other night, and I'm going to do a wee Christmas gig for him down at Coleraine to send off. Well, one of the last send-off ones.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to all the gigs ahead.
You've a good amount, and you've had a good amount this year too.
Oh,
what
totally.
made you? We'll get back to your career and stuff, but what made you take the plunge this year and say, right, I think I'm going to pack it on?
I think it was the age thing, really. You were getting to that stage where you were starting to panic about going to do a gig, which I'd never experienced that before. That sort of anxiety thing where, even though the gig was maybe a couple of weeks away, I was like dead anxious and you know, wanting to cancel it. Now, I'd never felt like that before, where I just wanted to go, no, I'm not going there the night. So there was some events that had happened around the Christmas time last year that kind of made me think, you know what, these are good events, but they're never going to last. And I'd rather just go out with good memories.
Yes.
Because I know we've had great memories at the very start, and then with our departure from Kelly's and stuff, you know, we went through maybe 10, 15 years of just scraping the bottom of the barrel. You know, getting like, even though I didn't push myself as much as I probably should have.
Yes.
I just felt that, I don't know, it's just one of those things. You just have to.
I think after COVID, because with everybody being locked away, you seen people like just embrace the trying to entertain people and keep people amused on online. Like we done the DJ things, we raised thousands of pounds for charities and things. And all the DJs were always eager to do anything. And I think after that, that's sort of when COVID ended and that was all over, that people wanted to get out, they wanted to be on live events. It's sort of because everybody was sort of promoting themselves through online, it got more work for people then. People wanted to see these people live and blah blah blah. Nights, events, everything got a lot better, but as you say, the anxiety, that I think that come from the whole COVID and being on the house and blah blah blah, and probably trapped in your own mind too.
Because for possibly 3 months of the whole COVID thing, I seen one person, which was my mate. Now, me and Amanda were living in separate homes at the time. We were now living together. So I didn't get to see her for 12 weeks, as you weren't allowed to get your own postcode. So my mate was coming up to me every night, you know.
So you didn't break a COVID?
No, I didn't. I broke a couple of rules, like, but it was not too mad. But I think it did. I kind of possibly into myself.
Yes.
Because for about maybe a year, I was running online events basically, and getting all the DJs and things for, you know, to get together, and I never even DJed myself. I just presented the whole thing. Yes. Which I loved doing.
That was good crack. Hey?
I actually loved, you know, sitting there having a couple of beer, you know, and introducing the next DJ, and them having already pre-made the video, and it was more like for me.
It was a project.
It was.
Kept your mind.
Just to see what do, and it got me more into designing stuff as well, designing the program, and you know, I had loads of help there from other people too.
You were designing T-shirts and stuff back then too, weren't you?
I was designing T-shirts and flyers and film sets. I thought maybe portraying the events that we're having online as kind of like a movie where people was watching something that's going, oh Jesus, what's that?
But then another thing that you did throughout that time was do your own edits and production of tunes, which were, some of them were just amazing. And I've heard them throughout events that we've had and stuff like that there, and you seen the crowd reaction to some of them.
Totally.
It's fucking unreal. Like.
The last 3 events you've done for the Irish Masters, they were probably my best events in the last 10 years that I've looked at and went, you know what, people still appreciate good music,
Aye.
and they still appreciate DJs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like today's where there's like 500 people or 600 people in a club and 600 of them standing with their phones up. It wasn't
Yes.
like that.
No, it wasn't.
It was very minimalistic. There was maybe 10 people in the crowd, maybe had their phones out of 500, which is still good to see. But you know,
People were going for it, like. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's just watching back in videos. You know, it gives me great memories. You know, and I do thank you and Paul for getting me on at those events. Because even though I wasn't part of the point in thing back in the day, we were all still working. You know, we were all still doing stuff together. You know, you were working in Hennessy's and so were we.
Oh, yeah.
We were maybe doing a Friday night or a Saturday night.
We done
were
a
doing
Saturday, you
we were
done
doing
a
a Friday.
Friday,
But I remember always you saying to me about the Eve Records 9.
That's right.
You know, saying to me, Sasha played that. No, I forgot, no fucking way. He says, he did. It was
He
a
did,
B-side
aye.
track. And
Oh, it was
and I'm
fucking some tune, hey?
That's 31 years ago.
Jesus, that's mad.
I know, it's crazy, innit? When you think
Mental.
about it. And the last 25 years have just gone in a flash.
Aye.
And when people say life's too short, it really is.
That is too short, hey? But
When
we
the-
have the memories. I feel sorry for young people these days because of the pressures, the social media, all that stuff. We didn't have that.
No.
We, like, if you weren't coming home, you went onto a phone box and phoned your ma, your dad, your
Totally.
granny, your granda, whoever,
Aye.
and told them you wouldn't be back.
Or in my case, my next door neighbour. 'Cause we didn't have
They
a
pass the
phone.
message on.
Yeah.
But like taking you back to them days when we'll go back just to when you started, the whole 91 to 94 was the, like they call it the love years. They called it we're part of Generation X.
Yeah.
You know, the pressures wasn't really on us, and we've talked about this too on different podcasts. The Troubles played a big, massive part of it, bringing people together. I think if it wasn't for dance music, I know it's maybe but hard to say, but if it wasn't for dance music in that era, wouldn't pull communities together.
No, I know. I think that had been the music thing had been going like that for maybe before us, where it was bringing the two communities together. But it was more highlighted.
Yes.
In the 90s, you know, a lot of people from Belfast and places like that there couldn't possibly be seen mixing in Belfast. But they found like Portrush like a safe haven, you know, like neutral ground to go to, and that was amazing to see. It was amazing to think back now, and that I've met some people over the year, and I'm still good friends with them who are from the other side of, and I hate using the word divide because you know, that's what it was called.
That was what it was called in them days.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, and
because it took people a bit to sort of even trust. Like I remember going places and thinking, am I going to be all right here? Do I feel safe? Like there's Banbridge, standing there, and I seen people that was on Circus. I was going that you'd seen in the news and stuff, and going, Jesus, am I out of my depth here? Like, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like that.
Yeah, I think that was it. It was the not known. You know, we were getting into the unknown. But that was every Saturday night for us boys. You know, we were going up and down the country, DJing. Like for me, from Korean, but I was heading to Strabane every Saturday night or Friday night, you know, to do Marshalls and Siam Mills. And I've met that's where my ex-wife's from, Gillian, and my daughter's mum, my daughter's Cassie. You know, they still live there, and I still just look back at those days and go, wow.
And Marshalls was
what a class people they were, and I seen that there. All they wanted to do was go out and dance and listen to DJs.
they weren't interested in what was going on outside.
Weren't, you know, that's something that will stick with me forever. That we did kind of make a change.
Aye.
You know, in people's perspective of what it was meant to be, or what it should have been. But I love doing the whole, you know, but the travelling thing now again just scares me, you know. And not scares me, but you know, again, heading to somewhere, like I was in Oma up maybe a month ago, and the way up in the car was just gruesome. Stomach cramps, you know, butterflies. You know,
But
again,
would that not have been the way you were in the early days too?
yeah, it was. But
But a bit of nervous energy makes it better because it means it's showing that you care.
Yeah.
You're not going up here thinking I'm going to play in here and I'll just go on and do it and just you know what I mean. That shows that you care and shows that you take it seriously.
Well, that's to say, it's always when you're there, that all goes away. You know, that comes like from a nervousness into a more of a positive.
Once you get the
energy.
first two mixes in.
Yeah, once you get, as we Fred says, as long as you get your first one and then you're grand after that.
That's it. It's plain sailing after that. So it is. So we'll just briefly go back. So you were in Lacey's, Jet Centre, you were doing all over Portrush and Korean direction. Then you got a job in Kelly's, you were doing harmonies in Kelly's first of all.
Yeah.
Then you got a residency job after.
In '94, it started in '94.
With intelligence. You started yourself with Malloy?
Malloy was Glenn was probably going to the likes of the Point Inn and stuff on a Saturday night as well, and I got to finish off after him. And then Simon came on as well after that, and then that's where our sort of residency began.
They were a good couple of years too, like.
They were great, even though we were only there for 2 years. Those nights have lasted us 30 years later. You know, people still talk about those nights, and which is good. It's nice to know that people still
reminisce about.
And the whole nostalgic feel to it all. And even now, even if I go down to Kelly's now for getting something to eat, I still get butterflies going up that lane. You know, it was a big part of our life.
It was, surely.
For those 2 years, and obviously we had about 90 nights out of them. You know, and 90 nights is a lot of nights.
That is, surely.
And it was a week in, week out thing.
And then loads of guests, loads of different nights. Like you, Malloy, I know we talked about it in a previous podcast, like watching him too, the genius that he was, and the way that he used to scratch and bring tunes in, and then you would be on weeks at the end.
Inspiration.
It was just, you were playing off the back of each other, you know what I mean? It was just, I never really got to that many Saturday nights because
you were DJing yourself.
DJing now. But when you did get, they were unreal, like, you know what I mean? And like yourself and Glenn and Simon and all, like, knew how to read the crowd. That was the thing.
Well, that's something that you kind of learned while you were in places like Lacey's. To read the crowd, and I don't think that's maybe adapted much now with the new style of dance music. I think a lot of the kids now are going out playing pre-recorded sets.
Yes.
They probably don't have to read the crowd. They know what's going to be hitting for them and what's not. Back then, we'd have been testing and test presses and white labels, and you know, see what would work and trying to make classics. You know, that's the thing.
Because you would have probably had a minimum set that you would have kept for about maybe the next 4 weeks and keep adding, taking things out all the time.
Which is, and then out of those you pulled the classics out then for like at the end of the night, kind of stuff. But yeah, it was pretty forward thinking when you were, you know, I wonder if this could go down well. You know, putting on a tune that you'd maybe got in a backstreet shop in Ibiza. You know, and going, that'll go down well in Kelly's, and then not even caring about the whole, they just can't wait to go by and play these 12 new tunes.
Because you played in Ibiza, you played all over. Like, we'll talk a wee bit about that now. You've played from playing all around Ireland, got you gigs all over Scotland, the UK, Liverpool.